Safety, love, a sense of belonging. That's what we really want. What we really want is to believe that our lives matter and that we will actually make a difference in this world. And you see, it's out of that place of believing that we will dare to dream and dare that if only we were to achieve those dreams, our lives would be overflowing with happiness and peace of mind and freedom. But there's a problem. The problem is that in times of change, we are bombarded with layers of unexpected adversity and disappointments that blindside us. And what happens is trust begins to break within ourselves, break within our relationships, and break with those we are supposed to be able to trust most. But there is good news. And the good news is hope deferred makes the heart grow sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. Does anybody want more life? Yes. So I invite you today to lift your head up and insist on hope in these times of change. And when I'm talking about hope, I'm not talking about wishful thinking, but rather I'm talking about the kind of hope that produces your healing, that leads to your overcoming, that leads to your possibilities, that begins to shape your unique purpose and the expectancy that your best is yet to come. Today, it gives me great privilege. I'm deeply humbled to be here to give you words to sustain you if you're weary. I want to give you words to sustain you, to refresh you for your journey, so that you can cultivate a healthy heart and your longings will become fulfilled. I want you to hear a little part of my story. When you hear it, you will hear hope that would not let go. You would hear a love that would not give up, and you would hear life. Listen for the grace that is greater than all my crazy choices and my circumstances and my sin, of when justice was served and when mercy wins, and of the kindness of Jesus who drew me in. To tell you my story in part is to tell of him. I was adopted back in 1971, and this is my forever family, and I'm the little one in the white dress. This is my forever mommy and daddy and my new brothers and sisters. By the time I was 6 years old, my parents divorced, and my two older siblings were old enough to go live with their friends, and my dad, he took the two in the middle and moved from Des Moines, Washington to Bellevue and started this beautiful, rich, glamorous, Facebook-worthy kind of life. And I was suddenly rejected and abandoned and all alone. At 6 years old, this is where I adopted the orphan spirit. You see, this is where I learned at a very early age that I was unworthy, that I was unlovable, that I just wasn't enough. You see, I didn't belong in my biological family or my adopted family. I struggled because I didn't belong in the black community or the white community, and I was invisible most of my life. And in my family, even today, I still feel invisible much of the time. But Mom and I, we did our best, and we moved from Des Moines, Washington, and we moved to Federal Way. But it was here that I grew up in condemned housing for the next 8 years. And I remember stepping on slugs in the middle of the night as I would try and make my way to the bathroom. And I remember the salamanders in my bedroom closet and the big carpenter ants that would get stuck in that big, crazy, curly hair. I remember block cheese and powdered milk. It was really tricky to be me, and I didn't know how to deal with my emotions, and so I ate them. I was overweight, understyled, and poor, and the kids at school, they judged and teased me. They called me bush monkey and nigganese. And I remember looking in the bathroom mirror with big alligator tears coming down and just saying, if I could only take a Clorox bath, then maybe I would belong. When I was 12 years old, I experienced my first experience of #MeToo, and it was at that time that I knew I was damaged goods and there would be no redemption for my story. Nobody would want me. And I began to get depressed, and I was a frenetic freak in my own mind and never comfortable or confident in my own skin and suffocating on my own insecurities. That depression kept growing and growing, such that by the time I was 15 years old, all I could think about was suicide and how could I take my life. I want you to know that it was hope that intervened with a divine intervention one night, because one night I found myself coming out of a sleepwalking episode in the kitchen with a butcher knife in my hand. Hope insisted on a very different story. You see, I had much more to do on this earth than at that time, back when I was just 15 years old. Fast forward, I came across this Bible verse in a dusty old Bible I had. Didn't even know it was in there. It was Psalm 139, verses 14 through 16. And King David said, "Oh, I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. You saw me being formed and knit together in my mother's womb. And all the days of my life were written in the book of life before one ever came to be." And it was at that time, in that pivotal moment, with that pivotal verse, for the first time I felt known and loved and celebrated and safe. And no matter my darkest day, there was hope for me. I was known. You see, because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And so are you. And you. And you. And you all. Fearfully and wonderfully made, with a place to belong. Fast forward in my fragmented identity, I went on to college, and that's when I had my first abusive boyfriend. And then when I was 26 years old, I married an abuser. And it was at this time in my life that I became numb. And I was completely shutting down. I was mute. I wondered if I would ever feel safe again. Would I feel love again? Literally, would I ever smile again? But this time, hope came in the form of forgiveness, you see, because I began to forgive myself and then my ex-husband and my college boyfriend and my parents and my siblings that left me behind. And hope began to replace anger and shame and guilt and resentment and bitterness, and replaced it with yes, the hope that began to produce healing and overcoming and possibilities, and yes, the purpose and possibilities in my life and the expectancy of what was to come. I want to share with you one last story about hope. Oh, I love this story. When I was 40 years old here, I signed up for a half marathon. Now, this is important because I was never Sporty Spice, so this was a big deal, a big, crazy deal. And I crossed that finish line, and I called my dad because I wanted him to celebrate me. I called my dad, but he never called me back. A couple months later, it was my 40th birthday. I didn't get a card, and I didn't get a phone call. The next week, it was his birthday, and I called him, but no phone call. Fast forward, it was 3 months later that I got this intuitive nudge, right? Call your dad. Call your dad. And I was like, oh no, I'm good. I don't need to call my dad. Because if one thing I can tell you from all of the years of therapy that I have had, one thing, and I've had a lot, one thing that I learned was, don't be so starved for love and have the need to belong so much that you attach yourself in unhealthy relationships. Let people be who they want to be in your life. But that intuitive nudge didn't stop. It was hounding me like a fierce wind. Call your dad, call your dad. So I did. And it was beautiful. My dad answered. And my dad said, I love you, Kim. When are you coming to see me? And he got to hear me say, I love you too, Dad. I'm going to save my pennies and I'm going to come visit you. I got off the phone, and it was the sweetest conversation. It was short, and it was beautiful, and it was free. And I remember thinking, you know what? I am loved. I am worthy, and I am enough. And I want you to know that I am so glad that I called my dad. Because you see, it was a week to the day later that my dad unexpectedly died of a heart attack. Could you imagine if I hadn't have forgiven him, if I hadn't have followed that intuitive nudge? The story would have a very different ending, but you see, it was hope that was insisting on a very different ending so that tonight I could stand before you with full confidence and declare over you that there is hope for your life, for your wayward daughter's life, and for your son's addiction. Insist on hope and lift your head up. For the knowingness that you are loved, for the ability that you too can move from fear into more freedom. There is hope. Lift your head up. And for your entrepreneurial dream, there is hope for you. Where is hope calling your name tonight? Hope is calling your name. And the best was yet to come. This is my husband, Kelly Peterson, and we've been married this year 5 years. And this is a beautiful, beautiful story of hope and redemption and so much more, but we don't have time to talk about that. I want to leave you with 10 keys to activate hope in your life today. Number 1, have faith in something greater than yourself. And when your heart is overwhelmed, may it lead you to the rock that is higher than you. Number 2, dare to believe. Dare to believe that you are worthy, that you have inherent value, regardless of what somebody says. And your best is yet to come. You are uniquely savvy with your unique personality and skills and talents and abilities. And the chapters in your life have been uniquely shaped for your purpose. Believe that you are worthy. Choose the right travel companions. They will help prop you up when you feel weary. Next, you have to challenge the limiting beliefs. Challenge the limiting beliefs that you have of your own story, those limiting beliefs that have robbed you of your true identity. I want you to know that with all of my being, I believe that breakthrough is on the horizon for you, and there is a new story, a new chapter ready to be written in your life. But in order to do that, you have to champion the truth. You have to fight for the truth, advocate for the truth, dig for the truth, and mine for the truth. The truth is not always sexy, but it will set you free. Next, take the next step. No matter how small it is, take the next step. Breakthrough is on your horizon. Forgive to be free. Next, express gratitude. There is always something for which you can be grateful each and every day. And the beauty of gratitude is gratitude drowns out despair and depression and creates room for hope and life. Number 9, inspire hope in others. See the invisible in this room and beyond. Speak life to the one whose light is dim and become the voice for the voiceless. And number 10, as my good friend Barbara Niven says, don't give up 5 minutes before your miracle. Don't give up. You see, because when you and I insist on hope, hope activates change and healing begins to happen from the inside out. And when that healing happens, we begin to reclaim our lives. And when we reclaim our lives, we can rebuild our families. We can reclaim our dreams, and we can become equipped and empowered to be the rebuilders in our cities, in the nations, and in the world around us in these very times of change. Do you want to reclaim your life? Do you want to rebuild? Lift your head up. Insist on hope in these times of change because your best is yet to come. Thank you.